Make sure to go ahead and print out your pattern to the size that you want to use that would be easy to cut. Mine was 11 by 17. Taking into account the size of the wood that you want to use, go ahead and trim your pattern down to that size. You'll probably have to trim all four sides depending on how the pattern is drawn, but you want an exact fit, so make sure you measure twice and cut once. In this step, you want to take your sanded finished side and cover it with tape. This will be the finished edge. Make sure you get all the sawdust off, otherwise the tape won't stick like what happened to me here. But you can definitely put it on, and then you want to work it all the way to the top, being careful not to overlap the tape to create ridges. Okay, once you got your tape all the way to the top, you want to just trim it down right to the edge. Very easy to do, just flip it off. I use an X-Acto knife here. And you just want to slowly and carefully trim each side right down to the edge of the wood. Yeah, not too difficult, but you want to make sure you don't have any excess tape hanging off that could slow things down on your table as you're trying to scroll this. So take your time, work your way all the way around, and then once you get it trimmed, we'll make a decision on how we want to proceed. I like to stack cut my projects, so if you decide to stack cut like I'm going to be doing here, go ahead and tape both finished sides and we'll glue them together in the next lesson. There's a lot to this step, but the tape essentially becomes a protective layer for the super glue so it doesn't affect your wood in any way. You just want to use drops on this. Do not put a full length because later on you're going to have to take it apart. So I found that drops seem to work pretty good for me, and just work your way through, and then you're going to combine both pieces together and make sure you set them on a flat edge, tape to tape, and then you can put some weight on them if you'd like, and then let it sit. Now that it's all glued together and it's solid, it just takes a few minutes. And get yourself a piece of commercial shelf paper, or you can get this at the dollar store. Spread it over the wood finish, and then make sure you get all of the air bubbles out as good as you can. Make it nice and tight and rub it all over. And then when you're confident it's ready, you're going to flip it over and trim. Okay, everything's coming together real nice, so let's take a moment to check, make sure there's no air bubbles, and then we'll move on to our next step, which is gluing on the pattern. It's all coming together. Okay, and gluing on the pattern, you want to make sure you take your time with this step and do it properly. Here's the adhesive that I like to use. You can get this at any commercial store like a Home Depot or a Lowe's. Works very well. I like it a lot. So you're just simply going to take this, you can see here in slow motion, just kind of slowly put a nice wave of glue across in even strips all the way. You want to really cover this surface well. Make sure that it's covered particularly in the corners and on the edges. This is a very important step to make sure you're really covered well and even. Application of the pattern is a critical step, so take your time and work your way through it slowly. I typically wait about 5 minutes for the adhesive to really set up a tacky surface. Then you're carefully going to match the corners and the top edge to exactly to your piece of wood. Then you're going to apply pressure from the center down to get the air bubbles to go down and out. And then you're going to take a straight edge and remove the remaining air bubbles so you have a nice clean match on this. Now that we have a finished pattern, let's begin our drilling. I use a small jeweler's drill for these micro cuts, and then you can also use a drill press for the regular cuts if you want. In drilling, I like to set mine up on a 5-gallon paint container. It just works really nice, and when you tap through, the drill doesn't penetrate anything. The key to this is to go nice and slow so you don't break bits for each and every cut. The micro cuts, you want to make sure that you're really on target and You want to drill in a strategic position that is going to allow you to start and stop your cuts effectively. Very important. Okay, it's time to sand out the back and get rid of all those little burrs from the drilling. This is very important so you mate the piece to the table very smoothly. So when you're cutting, you have no hang-ups and everything is nice and level.